Hi everybody, Tammy here. Welcome to my channel. So I have a fakey Blythe doll and a Barbie. Barbie Loves the Ocean here. We're doing some sewing today because I did a video not that long ago where I showed how to make a skirt for Elowen Weil. Let me pull Elowen out here real quick to show you. Woo! Uh-oh. Just knocked the doll over. Anyway, I showed how to make this skirt. This is the same skirt, but it's scaled down for the Blythe A-Zone and for Barbie. I'm going to demonstrate the Blythe doll sewing a little bit as well, and tell you the measurements and stuff of both of these. I am still tweaking the process, so to speak, so just wanted to put that out there. I don't feel like I've perfected it yet, but I think it's good enough to present to you guys, and you can take it from there and do what you will with it, or not. Okay. Alrighty guys, so I have some fabric pieces here on this foil because I just finished putting freight check around the edges. I'm getting ready to make another Blythe skirt. So you're going to need 2 pieces of cotton fabric if you're going to make this. The bottom part here is 3 inches by 10 inches. So in fact, I did this one at 3.5. But I think the next one I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. Yeah, let me change my notes here. 3 inches. I think just if it was just a 1/2 inch shorter, it might be a little cuter. It's fine like it is, but this is the second one of these skirts I've made for Blythe. This is number 3, and like I said, I think if I make it a little bit shorter, it'll be cuter. So this bigger piece is 10 inches long by 3 inches wide. Yep, am I right? Yes. And then the smaller piece is 1 1/4 inches wide by 4.5 inches long. And yeah, so I have my freight check on there. I believe, yeah, they're dry. The pieces are dry enough to handle. I'm using the same exact fabric I used here because I'm too lazy to switch out the thread in my machine. But you can see this is really a cute little skirt. You can do a lot with it. She's wearing her VBR 2023, her virtual Blythe retreat t-shirt from our retreat last summer with it. But and then Barbie, if you want to make this for Barbie now, I will have to say there are so many different sizes of Barbies, you know. So this Barbie is the Barbie Loves the Ocean. She's a tad on the slender side. You can see she's kind of got a bit of an athletic build to her. So I ended up, the skirt part, the bottom part here was 10 inches long by 6 inches wide. And the waistband I made 1.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches long. Okay. And so definitely check whatever doll you decide to make this for, especially like if you're going to do a different Barbie. Check the waist. This doll's waist is 5 inches. Or no, not 5 inches. Her waist is 4 inches. And so I made the waistband 5.5 inches. So basically what I did for both of, for pretty much all of these skirts is I measured the waist of the doll and I added about 1.5 inches, give or take. You have to kind of play around with it. Like I said, lots of different Barbies out there. So both of them don't have a snap on yet, but they do have the skirt and it seems to fit pretty well. All right, so you need all the regular sewing stuff. Like I said in the video I did for Elowen Weil, you could do this on your machine or by hand. I am doing it by machine. And like I said, I have, after I cut everything out, I put freight check all around the edges. All right, now that our freight check is dried, we're ready to start stitching. I have my iron heating up over here to help me with this next bit of the process. Also, I should mention, so this fabric that I'm using, if you look on the fabric, the pattern on the fabric doesn't have a top or a bottom. It just stuffs like all over the place. So keep that in mind when you are moving on to the next part of this process. Here is some fabric. For example, if I were to use this clearly has a top and a bottom. If I were to not pay attention, I could end up having, you know, this girl upside down and the house upside down and the chickens upside down on my skirt. And you ask me how I know that. Okay, so just keep in mind that that's what you want to do at this point. Be careful. All right, and so I am going to press about 1/4 of an inch on the bottom here before I go stitch my hem. You fold it over, press it. I'm just eyeballing it. I have a pretty good feel for what 1/4 of an inch is these days. Let's see. Am I accurate? Not really. A little bit more. So 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch or so, depending on how much you want to stitch that. That's a variable there. I'm going to just add a couple of pins before I go move on to my sewing machine. And while I have my iron hot, okay, so I'm also going to fold over about, unless I want to be a little bit more accurate with, there's 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to fold over the sides. This is the band that's going to be stitched. This is the waistband of the skirt. So I'm going to fold it over about 1/4 of an inch. Yep. Press that. Do the same on the other side. Fold over 1/4 of an inch. Double check. Boopity doop boop. Yep, close enough. Press that. Okay, turn my little iron off. Now I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch all the way down to make my hem. And then I will be right back. Alright, here you go. You can see I've hemmed it. The next thing I'm going to do is get on my sewing machine again, and I'm going to do a basting stitch across the top. If you're not familiar with that, it's basically just a very wide stitch, and the idea is you're going to do one big basting stitch across the top, and we're going to pull it to gather it up. So if you're doing this by hand, you can just do, make very large stitches. If you're doing it on your sewing machine, you're just going to change the stitch width to whatever width. They're different on different machines. My machine, I tend to put it up to the highest stitch width, say that 3 times fast, which is number 5. I don't know what number 5 means, but yeah, either 4.5 or 5, depending on how I feel, how my sewing machine is feeling, and that kind of thing. So yeah, so do a base stitch across the front, and I'll be right back. All right, so I have done, I only do one basting stitch. Usually most people tell you to do 2 because the idea is if one breaks, you have the second one. But I'm lazy, so anyway, here's my one basting stitch. Again, I use the foot on my machine. I typically keep it to the 1/4 inch size foot, so I know what is 1/4 inch. So that is 1/4 inch seam allowance on that. And now I'm just going to pull and gather it up on both sides. All right. And at this point, this is probably the most fiddly part of the entire process. So just take your time with it. I'll finish this off camera, but what I'm doing here is I'm gathering up the skirt. I'm going to take my mannequin or my doll to double check to make sure. This is why it's nice to have a doll that you're actually sewing for. I know some people sew for dolls and they don't actually have the specific doll that they're sewing for. I don't know how they do that. I'm not that talented. Can't do it. Sorry. So anyway, I will double check sometimes just to make sure that it's going to fit, because you want to have about a 1/4 of an inch or half to a 1/2 inch gap-osis, overlay. Okay, that it's going to fit, because I'll be stitching that up, at some point. So you're going to work on getting the gathers as even as possible. Like this point right here is not very even, so I'll have to mess with this. But like I said, I'll do that off camera, and because it takes me quite a bit of time. And then once I get it to the point where I like it, and like I said, I'll do that off camera, you're going to take the band with fabric facing each other. And on one end of the band, you're going to line it up with one end of your skirt, like that, and pin it. And the other end of the band, you're going to have it go past the end of the skirt about 1/4 of an inch. And that's, you see that is 1/4 of an inch there, that little piece that I folded over and pressed. Doopity doop. And then the idea is, see, now I can see how it's not, there's a gap there. So I have to mess now with the gathered areas and make them even and flat down on that band, and put my pins in there, double check again that it's going to fit this doll body before I get too much further. I always do that as I sew. I always kind of double check that everything's fitting as it should before I get to the end. So I'll do that off camera. I'll come back and show it to you before I go over to the machine and stitch it. All right, so I have it as neatly done as I feel like doing. Like I said, this is the fiddliest part. I've got the pins on there, and now I'm going to go to my sewing machine and attach it. Basically, I'm going to start on this end and sew all the way down. And again, it's 1/4 of an inch, and basically I'm just following the seam that I already put in here when I did the gathering stitch. Alrighty, so it is stitched now, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up my iron, and I'm going to press this down. This is, fold this over here, press this down, and then fold this over. This is the band again. You can see, in fact, here's the front. And I'm going to fold this over and pin it down. Now, I am going to try something different. At this point, I just had an epiphany as I was videotaping. And we'll see what happens. So if you look at the skirt that I did for Barbie here, what I did when I folded it over, when I folded this over like this and pinned it, like, let me just do that. I'm going to press it before I go actually stitch, but just to give you an idea. Press it, fold it over, pin it. Okay, another pin here. So when I did this for my Elowen skirt and also the Barbie and the other Blythe doll skirt, I stitched on this side of the band. However, when that happens, so you can see this is some of the stitching here. Okay, and I really want to stitch, I want this to go all the way around, but I got off track down here because I couldn't see this part when I was sewing. So what I'm going to do this time, again, I'm going to press it and pin it and everything. When I go into my sewing machine, I'm going to stitch on the front, top stitch. And as I do the top stitching, I will hopefully be able to still capture all of this, the rest of the band on the other side. And I'm going to do like an 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, like an 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to top seam it, all the way down this time. And I think I'm going to have, I won't have this sort of little odd stitching here. Now, you may be able to do this and not goof up like I did here, but I think this is going to help me make the finished product a little bit nicer. So let's see if I can do it. All right, success, guys. All right, so like I told you, this time what I decided to do was top stitch it all the way down instead of stitch on this side. And so much better. Now you can see some stitching here, but this is, I can pull this out. This is from the gathering that I did. This isn't holding anything together. In fact, let me take it out. I'll be right back and show you what it looks like. I just need to pull out some of the gathered stitch. All right, I pulled out the extra gathering stitch that was showing up, so not bad. Now the next thing I'm going to do is super easy. I'm almost done. I'm going to fold it in half, meet the edges here and here. Put a little pin here. Maybe add one more. And you got to leave a little bit of a gaposis from here to here to be able to get this up on the doll. Let's see, how big is that? I'm going to leave about an inch. Okay, so I'm going to stitch that, be back, and show it to you on the dolly. All right, so just so you know, I did try this skirt on a Takara style body, and it does fit, even though these bodies are a smidgy smaller through the waist. And as you can see, she's got a top tucked in. I wanted to be able to tuck the top in. I still have to put a snap on the back here, but I just need one snap right there to finish it off. So I'm going to do her snap and her snap, and put a snap on the other skirt that I made that was longer. Yeah, I definitely like the 3 inches. In fact, so now once you actually, you lose some of that length because you have the hem and then up here. So the actual skirt length tends to be about 2 and 2¼ So, but I think it looks cuter, a little bit more flirty, She's got some great gams, right? So she should show them off. But obviously, like I said in the Ellen Wild video where I showed how to make the same skirt, only just bigger for Ellen Wild, you can switch this out. You can make it longer, shorter, whatever. I will say too, if you want a little bit more of probably a little bit more thorough and broken down tutorial, definitely check out the Ellen Wild skirt video. I will put a link to it as a card around here somewhere, or down in the description box below. But yeah, those measurements that I gave you early on in the video, you could also make a dress or a skirt for your Barbie doll. Again, you have to kind of check everybody's, lots of different Barbies, lots of different size Barbies waists. Okay, so double check that. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I'm going to whip up a couple of more. I do like the top stitching better. It was a little bit more, I had to be a little bit more careful when I was stitching to make sure I got everything, both sides of the band. But yes, definitely top stitch. Wish I could go back in time and do that with my Elowen video and everything, but what are you going to do? All right, guys, as usual, please give this a thumbs up. Have a wonderful Dolly Day, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Bye-bye.